You're listening to SOPHFIFEST, where Soph meets Sci-Fi, film, TV, game and book reviews from the weird to the magnificent world of science fiction and fantasy. I've been a bit ill this last week or so. I've had some flu. Thankfully it's not COVID, but in order to recuperate I wanted to play lots of games, and that's how I spent the last weekend, which was really fun. The first game that I played is a game I play very, very often now. It's called Hunt Showdown, and I'm not any better for it. I'm really bad at shooting games, and it's because I just haven't had the experience, and my partner actually gave me a tutorial on Hunt Showdown and also CSGO, which I'll talk about a bit later, about doing... It's all about angles, apparently. And like shooting at the right angles. If you have any other tips as well, then like feel free to like send them in. And also if you want to play, just message me and we can play as a trio or a group or whatever. But yeah, Hunt Showdown is this game where you are a bounty hunter. It's kind of set in, I don't know, like Florida or something, or Louisiana or somewhere in that sort of part of America. And you have these special powers where you get to banish these monsters. And the aim of the game is that you arrive on the map. You can either play solo, or you can play as a duo, or you can play as a trio. And you run around and you get all these clues. I definitely have talked about this on my Instagram somewhere. But you gather all these clues and then you find the location of one or both of these monsters. And there are a few different types of monsters, and they do different things. Anyway, so you come equipped with guns and like special consumables in order to help navigate this map. And there are different barriers, like different... They call them grunts, but they're kind of like zombies. And you fight your way through, but it's also like player versus player. So there are different people on the map who are also trying to get these bounties as well. And it's just so fun. I'm really bad at it. I'm so bad at it. I'm just not good at shooters. And it's, as I've learned, it's all about angles, like I said. But yeah, I played that on the weekend, and I will never stop talking about this game. It's so fun. I would play it every day if it was up to me. Yeah, so we played that, and we also played CSGO. So CSGO is Counter-Strike, but they've recently updated it with like different skins, and the maps look different, and there are different modes. It's kind of like Valorant. You know, we were just playing a lot of casual games, which is 10v10. And I don't have a rank yet, so don't ask me what it is. I like it a lot. So I've been trying to play that a bit and get used to the angles and the maps. And I'm very frequently told by other players to stop playing. In one of the games I was the orange person, and they were like, "Orange, stop playing. Please stop." Because you're so bad. Which is unfair, I think. But anyway, sometimes I do a screenshot of the different comments that people have made, because I find it quite amusing that people are so upset when I don't play well, because I am learning, and I've literally just started playing games. And well, I say literally just started playing games, but I guess to give you some context, the access that I had to video games was, you know, when my brother and I have a big age gap between us, like 9 years, and he used to bring his computer home when he'd come home from uni. And I would sneak on his computer and play like Chip or like these early point and click games, and that was super fun. And then when I was maybe 15, 16, something like that, my brother got me a PlayStation 1, and I was able to play Tomb Raider and some other silly games. Anyway, I've never had a TV that I owned. I've kind of piggybacked off of other people's consoles to play parts of games, and never really completed games, until my partner Chris, he's in tech, he's a game developer, and was like, I have this game computer, do you want it? Like, otherwise I would get rid of it, and then we can play games. And since then, it's maybe this last 6 months to a year, I've been playing shooting games, and I really enjoy them, but I'm not good at them. So yeah, please be patient with people who don't know how to play games like this. The other games I've been playing, I played Limbo on the Nintendo Switch. Limbo is a game by the independent studio Playdead, and they released a game after this that was called Inside, where you play a child who is inside. I think they're kidnapped and then they manage to get out, and the aim is to get outside, which you eventually do. And it's all like, all the visual graphics are really strange, and I that's what I really liked about it. And there's like a puzzle element to the games as well, and this game is no different. This came before Inside. I recommend it, but there's a lot of spiders in it, so if you like me are very scared of spiders, then maybe it's not for you. But otherwise, if you can accept this in your life, then it's quite a fun play. It's a fun play, I would say. But yeah, they're all kind of simple games, like, oh, if I move this box, I have to stand on this box, I pull this thing, and then the thing falls down, okay, then I jump on this thing, and then they're all just a series of tied together puzzles, which are great, I think, if you don't have a lot of bandwidth. Like, on the weekend I just had no bandwidth for doing any heavy lifting, literally and figuratively, and so that was like perfect. The other game I played was a game called Wilmot's Warehouse. Wilmot's Warehouse on the Nintendo Switch as well. So Wilmot's Warehouse, it's been out for a while. It's a puzzle game about keeping a warehouse running in tip-top shape. And you play Wilmot, which is this square, white square. It's a white square. And you sort of move it around, and the premise of the game, it's just a puzzle, and it gets more and more difficult as time goes on. It's developed by Hollow Ponds and published by Finji, and I really love Finji games, so I thought I would check it out. I needed something simple, and it's not that expensive on Steam or on Nintendo if you want to check it out. But the premise of it is, you have all these different shapes which are reflective of, different items that are in the warehouse, and you need to put them in organized piles so that when you have shipments to deliver, like when people ask, oh, I want 2 of this or 1 of this, you can find them really easily. And then you also get shipments coming in. So the play goes, oh, I got a shipment coming in, I'm going to do the thing, put things together in the piles, and then people will ask, oh, I want 2 apples, or I want 2 magnets, or whatever. And having good organizational skills is really good with this game, or if you want to just play a game that challenges that's a really fun game to play, so I'd recommend it. And the last game I played this weekend is called Undaunted Stalingrad. So I've posted about Undaunted games before. It's a board game. My boyfriend and I love it. It's a game that, I'm not someone who likes war games, and this is a war game, so it's kind of weird territory. But Undaunted Stalingrad is one of many games by Undaunted where you play a sort of war scenario. And the scenario is that you are enacting the battle for Stalingrad. You either play as Nazi Germany or you play as the Soviets. And you have these different tiles that are the geography of Stalingrad around World War II. If you flip them over, some of them have not fun facts, but facts about the city and what these different areas were for, what the buildings were and so on. So it's geographically factual. And then you have cards which have different roles on them, so they're like a scout role, or they're a machine gunner, or a commander, whatever, and each of the cards have different tasks that you could do. And you also have dice, so there's an element of chaos in this game, because it will say, to attack, you could roll this many dice, but the kind of level you have to beat depends on how far away you are from one to another. And anyway, it's complicated. Maybe I'll do a longer post about this at another date. But anyway, so there's a lot of chaos in this game, and in this particular version of the Undaunted series, this is like a proper campaign compared to the other ones, because there's a storyline that's attached to it. So you start out with one campaign, and whoever wins this will determine which way the story goes. And there's like, you know, a paragraph of story from each side, both from the Soviets and from Nazi Germany, that show, you know, what the story is for different characters. And I think that weaves in something that is kind of not there for the other Undaunted games. Whether you win or lose, there are casualties in this game, and you end up losing cards permanently because they become, you know, casualties of war. And I cried at the end of the game, like, because there's a lot invested in the game. Anyway, it's weird because I'm not really into war games, but I definitely recommend this one. So that takes me on to the main thing I wanted to talk about, which was the film Men and Chicken. So Men and Chicken is a 2015 Danish language comedy film. It's directed by Anders Thomas Jensen, and it stars David Densik and Mads Mikkelsen. And so the thing that drew me into this, besides the fact that it's categorized as science fiction, is that it's got Mads in it, and I really like his work. It was a 2015 film, so I was like, oh, that's pretty recent. And it was on Amazon Prime, but the freebie option, which is basically they do these films, but they have ads in the middle of them, so you get to access films that you maybe wouldn't be able to access on Amazon Prime. Anyway, so I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what this is, and so something about me is that I try not to read the premise of a film before I watch it. I just, you know, sometimes people tell me what the film is, and I'm like, oh, okay, I might watch that. But most of the time, I see a film and I'm like, I'm not going to read the premise because I want to be surprised. So I had no idea what the film was about. And it was such a weird film. Such a weird film. I'll give you like a little bit of the plot. So David Densik and Mads Mikkelsen are the main stars of the film. They play two brothers, Gabriel and Elias, who find out, like, their father dies. They go to his deathbed. They get a tape from him after he dies, which explains that he is not their real father, that they are half brothers. And they discover that their real father is this guy called Evelio Thanatos, who's a geneticist specializing in stem cell research. They go on a path after that to discover more about their history and who their father was, and to find more about their mothers, because they have no idea who they really are after this. And in the process, they go to this place called the Island of Ork, where they find their three other half-brothers, who are Franz, Joseph, and Gregor. And they are very strange people. Like, they live in this mansion, which is apparently where their biological father used to live with them, this geneticist person. And weird things that are happening. They have weird mannerisms. They facially, like, they obviously have deformities, some of which have been corrected in some sort of way through surgery. They find out that most of their mothers died in childbirth, which is a bit odd. And most of the story is about how dysfunctional they are. So Gabrielle and Elias move into this mansion with them. They find out that their father is dead, and the brothers have kept it a secret. They basically have his body in the building, and they kind of left it there. And they also find out that there are rules that the father instilled in them about the house, which is around, like, you don't go in these rooms. And they self-police those rules as brothers. Like if one of them tries to go into an area of the house that's meant to, the father said, don't go in there. They're like, I told you not to go in there. And they're sort of violent with each other or aggressive with each other about it. And so they perpetuate these like rules that are in place. But obviously Gabrielle and Elias they're not like them. They're from the outside and they want to know who they are. And so they, particularly David Densick's character, he's like, I want to know more. He's driven by this desire to learn. He's the well-read brother. He's got like a master's and a bachelor's degree and everything. So he's like very educated. And, his other brother is not as educated. He's also a bullish character, literally. Very early on in the film, before we discover that, his father was not his father, he basically is on a date with a woman who I think is in a wheelchair, if I remember rightly, and she's a psychotherapist, and he's asking her questions, obviously, to get therapy out of her, and then she realizes that, and then he's like, how could you say that? How could you? I would never! But while you're at it, why don't you... I want to tell you about my dream, he's that kind of character. So he's just not a nice person. Anyway, so they discover the father is dead. And then Gabrielle, looks into things a bit more, into like forbidden areas, and then discovers all these hybrid animals, which his father has like hidden from everyone. And it's basically like, it's areas where he has like tried to splice different genes together, and through that they basically discover that the father was doing these scientific experiments like on people, merged all these genes together of animals and experimented on these women, and then they had these children, and then the mothers ended up dying because obviously it's toxic and not sustainable. And the film sort of ends with them like realizing that and accepting that, and then they decide to live together and have like happy family in that house, so they kind of accept who they are. But the the crux of this film is so odd, because it's like, oh, we're made of animals, okay, well, let's carry on with our lives, yay. Like it's just so strange. Whenever I see a film like this, I'm just like, I wish that I was inside the room when the scriptwriter decided to, go to an exec committee or to a board of members and be like, hey, I have this film idea. Hear me out. And then they're like, man splices genes together to make human animal hybrids. Isn't that weird? And then happy ending. It's the same way I felt about Everything Everywhere All at Once. I really wish I was inside the room when that happened. Yeah, it's such a weird film. And what struck me as well as like not really talked about in the depth that I think it should be, is the fact that, this guy did these scientific experiments and it cost the lives of these different women. I'm not altogether certain that they knew. I actually can't remember, because it's actually a couple of weeks since I watched this particular film. But I can't remember, and I don't know that these women knew that they were getting into these situations. I'm going to say that they didn't. This guy experimented, and it cost them their lives. And it just reminds me of like different stories I've heard in real life where people have done massive atrocities to people. I know this is meant to be a fun science fiction podcast, but like, yeah, they've done these like massive atrocities to people, and the thing that came to mind when I watched this film was the story about syphilis. There was like the Guatemala syphilis experiments. Through intentional exposure to gonorrhea, syphilis, and cancroid, a total of 1,308 people were involved in the experiments of that group, with an age range of 10 to 72. 678 individuals, 52%, can be said to have received a form of treatment. So if this is the one I'm thinking of, I was thinking of Tuskegee, but this might be something different. But there were people who had like syphilis, and they were told by these scientists that they were, being that we will treat you for your bad blood, and you will be cured and stuff. So they made these promises, and then they didn't treat them and didn't tell these people, and so they both suffered or died. So when I watch this film, Men and Chicken, I'm just like, this is like a fictional story, obviously, but this is not, I don't feel like the gravitas of that situation is really made as heavy as it should be in the film. But obviously it's a comedy, it's meant to be like a dark comedy, but it's like, oh, our mother's died because this guy is atrocious. And like there's no moment where they don't take a moment to go, we should mourn our mothers again for what they did. They still like mourn their father, who they didn't know, who was a piece of shit. I just it just made me feel all kinds of things, like a sadness that I wasn't expecting to feel from a Freevee film. It's such a weird project for Mads Mikkelsen to pick up as well, because it was after he did Hannibal, which obviously is like the prime of his, I don't know if it's the prime of his career, but it's, Hannibal is it's a great TV series. It's for him to pick up this film afterwards is strange. It's strange, man. Anyway, so that, I think it's a good film. I really enjoyed it. There's nothing really to say about the landscape, the soundscape. Like, the acting was good. I feel like it was like an unusual concept. I enjoyed watching it. I don't know if I would recommend it. There is a specific person who would watch that film, and I guess that person is me. And I don't know another me who I would recommend it to. But maybe there is a me out there who's like, I want to watch something really weird, I want to watch something strange. So if those people were out there, this is the film for them, I'm sure of it. Yeah, so that's it for this podcast. What else have we got coming up? So it's October. When did that happen? It's nearly Halloween. It's nearly Fireworks Day. Yay. I kind of want to commemorate the very close link between horror and sci-fi by watching some like horror sci-fi films. So I'm probably going to be doing that over the coming weeks. So look out for that. And also playing and recommending a bunch of horror games that I think you would like. So yeah, looking forward to that. Anyway, I hope you're having a good one. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!